Hello there, and welcome to Ren and Snippy. That is Sabine Wren and, of course, Sankatano. And, anyways, outside of that stupid joke and our thumbnail that we all hope you all very much like, uh, I'd like to welcome everyone to your.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Can everyone hear that?
You're
It's like my
fine right now.
voice is echoing.
I hear a little bit of the echo, but it's no big. It's fine.
Yeah, there it is again.
I don't have it.
It's like, yeah, see that? Yeah, I'm hearing everything I'm saying is being repeated. It's weird.
Well, it depends, and well, maybe the force
It
is
is?
trying to tell
I
us
think it's
something.
some. I think it is. I think it's trying to tell me to end the broadcast. No,
Huh,
No,
that's crazy.
we
there it
can
is
end up
again. Do you hear that?
a little bit.
No. Okay,
I
that's
I,
weird.
I think
I
maybe
think.
I
Got to be
Oh,
something
I
with
found
headphones.
it. It was because had the link to the live stream going while I was doing that, and it was repeating everything I was saying to me. So I was hearing the delay in the signal. You see, this is why
Yeah,
live streams aren't that great all the
full
time.
Oh
fetch.
yes. Okay. Sorry for the little delay there, everyone, but at least we figured out the force was still with us.
Right. So, anyways, I'd like to welcome everyone to Ren and Snippy, as I said before. Please welcome John Davies from Cinema Obscura, and also welcome Tarek Fayumi from Movie Satiric.
Hello.
I'm Mike Crowley from You'll Probably Agree. So going around, who would like to talk about what the plot to this episode was?
Tarek, go ahead. You missed most of last episode, so why don't you go ahead and lead us off?
Well, basically, from all my notes and whatnot going forward, kind of thing. One thing that I kind of realized with the episode of the segment being "Time to Fly," I come to realize this was like one where it's like the path of the introduction is going stronger in its direction, but also it's starting to bring back like the world of basically the one learning the ropes of a Jedi, but then also learning like the world around it, as in like being able to like how they're flying in a jets, how they're encountering new planets. But then also there's this one is also more about, I feel, the connection around the force, but also I'm coming to realize like with this one kind of thing, like even like with Ahsoka herself, like she is like I'm starting to see how true the vision is in the performance of Rosario Dawson through like her commitment to be someone where the force is strong, because especially from the quote of one of the quotes of the episode, learning to wield the force takes a deeper commitment. That shows that each episode, to me, and it's just from my perspective, that it's going to be like a whole new rank of something difficult to learn, but that it can be conquered, or it's going to be one of those things where it's like going to have to do it again and again and again until they get it right.
Right. So John, what did you think of the episode?
This was fun. It's just like an episode of Rebels.
Yeah,
It feels just like we've been saying, like live action,
animation.
animation, like whatever we want to call it. It's just so much suspense and with real. I mean, they really don't do much. They're just like kind of investigating this one thing, and they figure out what it is, and they have to fight off a battle, and like it's kind of like a short little like action packed little. I mean, a fantastic episode 3. I'll tell you that much. Like it's got our attention once again. Like what the hell is going on? What is Thrawn doing? They keep throwing his name out there. You were finally vilified. I think you Mike like said something episodes and episodes ago about hopefully Ahsoka has something to do with the whales,
Yeah,
and they hinted at that
I
the whole like
remember
they
that.
had in
we get
episode
full
1.
blown
They hinted
whales
at it
now.
in episode 2, but they're straight up telling you that the whales are how Ezra got Thrawn to the other galaxy, and like the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together. And oh my goodness, good job, Dave.
Right.
Filoni, like, dude, seriously, it's just like if you watched Rebels, you know exactly what's going on. If you didn't, you still have a whole bunch of questions.
There,
And oh my goodness, it's fun.
yeah, it's. I'll say this about the episode. I thought it was fun. It certainly felt like an episode of Rebels where
Mhm.
it doesn't feel like filler, but it has fillery aspects where
Mhm.
Ahsoka is still being chased by the Inquisitors, and she's going on her mission to try to find out about Thrawn. But then
Did not
there's the
help.
politics that they put into the episode, which is some of the best space politics I've seen in some Star Wars, where you get to see how the First Order comes to be, because there's that scene where Sabine Wren is talking to Mon Mothma along with everyone else on this New Republic Senate committee, and she's telling them, "Hey, I think Thrawn is alive. I would like to send a fleet to go find him if he is." And they said, "This is stupid. We're not going to waste our money with that or resources. Uh, sorry, but no." Well, that right there is probably why the New Republic failed and got destroyed by the First Order. And this is some of the stuff that Dave Filoni is hinting at. He is the Star Wars janitor. He comes in and fixes the mistakes from very little movies and very little well done movies and makes them watchable again. I'll admit, I like the Phantom Menace. Attack of the Clones is very newsworthy, but if you watch Attack of the Clones now, it's like holy shit! It's like watching it's like watching the Clone Wars, but in live action, you know. And you get the idea of that here with the live action animation.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
I
it was fun, but it wasn't
I
like great
I
though. Hang on, yeah, but it was fun, but it wasn't. I thought it could have a little more meat to chew on the bone. It could have been a little longer than 30 some minutes. I think instead of like ending on the cliffhanger where Balin is sending out a team to try to find Ahsoka, we could have just already like have whatever half of next week is going to be put into there.
Yeah, you
I
did mention that they are getting incredibly shorter episode by episode. That's not a good. That's not a
Yeah.
good.
it's not like this. When I realized, like right before I started this episode, when I realized that it's just over like 30 minutes, I'm like, what? Like, this is not right, kind of thing in a way. But maybe it's just like how the writing is or what direction they're trying to take. But I'm thinking, like if it was gonna be that short, it would have been nice to have like episode 4 on top of it, like right after, but I don't know why they did it. But
Well, I'll pile on top of that and say it like kind of combining what we've been saying. If this is the filler episode, cool. It's a half an hour, great. The rest of it, if they're going to be 40 minutes and it's going to be just crazy stuff and Ezra's and Thrawn's and you don't know what the hell's coming next, HK-47s, if this is the only episode that's filler and it's 30 minutes, then I'm fine with that.
yeah. I feel like it was that's kind of like it's like the direction, it's like the tone of that, even from how this one had its title, Time to Fly. I think because they focused a majority on this episode, of course, on a lot of the flying of locations back and forth and introduction to that and a little bit of the political tides in conversation. But the continued thing I'm always thinking about between the rebels, the different forces, the allies, is there's always that thing that comes to my mind where it's trust no one, kind of thing a little bit, or you can't always trust everyone. That's a continued thing I'm thinking in each and every introduction between the different sides.
Well, in terms of not trusting everyone, has everybody heard of that rumor that Ezra is probably that Inquisitor who has a helmet on and you can't
Nobody.
see his face? Yeah.
Right.
At first I thought no way, but I'm starting to think maybe, because they keep cutting to him and they might go for a shock twist where Ezra has fallen to the dark side. But the other likelihood is that we find out that Ezra is being held by Thrawn and they have to go on a rescue mission to come and get him.
There's only one way to travel to another galaxy, That's by
Hyperspace
using the
ring?
rails and their hyperspace paths. Ezra has that ability. Thrawn is in the other galaxy. There's like you have to do them. Like Ezra is held captive by Thrawn. That's the math. It
Yeah.
has to be. It has to be. Thrawn used Ezra to escape because Ezra, since day one, has been extremely like attuned to nature and animals, and like he's had conversations with Bendu, who we don't exactly know what is. Like he's just like this big thing out in the middle of the desert. He talks to the lolcats. You know, he's got an extremely like that animal connection or whatever they have that Anakin does have a little bit of, and Grogu has a little bit of. Ezra is like extremely powerful with that. So
Yeah, it could lead. I mean, I feel like it's just predictable if Disney does the same thing where it's like, oh, Thrawn has him captive. We have to go and rescue him. Which I'll admit, I'm fine with watching that rescue mission, even if it is a little redundant. But
I feel redundancy. Like there's a joy to some form of redundancy in these Star Wars films because it's because to me, like even though this is a TV series, even the movies itself felt like a TV series, even though they were the movies too, because it's like when something stops at one point, you're ready for the next continuation right away, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, this is very old style television where every episode ends on a cliffhanger, where you have to wait an entire week to see what is going to happen. And, sometimes I'm fine with waiting a week. Other times I feel like this episode, I feel like I didn't need to wait an entire week just to see a 30-minute action scene.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, it felt like there's a whole other part to this that they could have added.
Ahsoka out on the wing of her own ship, defending it with lightsabers, is pretty badass. And
that was sweet.
Back to what you were saying earlier about Dave Filoni working his magic. Now that scene with Kylo and Rey doing the starfighter training makes a little bit more sense. Like he kind of breathed life into that scene a little bit and he's trying to make the sequels rewatchable. Like I'm saying this and saying this and saying this.
He's the Star Wars janitor.
With that scene, he does. Because in the movie, you're like, why are they doing this? It's ridiculous. When would you ever, be facing a starfighter? And Ahsoka's here facing 3, and she takes out 2 of them.
She takes one out by like doing this weird like cartwheel in the middle of space, and then chops its like actual wing off.
Awesome. He knows what he's doing. He's known Star Wars just as long as we have. He was born in 1974, so it's been in his life. I was born in 1974. It's been in his life exactly as long as it's been in mine, pretty much the whole time.
Yeah,
and yours as well. So, like, he's been thinking about it. He knows what he's doing.
I am realizing as well that even the droids, the R2D2 type characters, everyone, they're becoming there's so many more coming around where it's like they're so much more social than what I was used to. I mean, they were social in the films, but this one, it's like I feel there's also there's a new technological robot type person, and then it's like coming around, and they're the ones trying to give the higher advice, even though it was like that with C-3PO and people like that back then.
Star Wars has done a lot of good with that. They started that with the Mandalorian a bit, with that, the droid factory or whatever, and that one reprogrammed droid kind of like lost his mind or whatever. Like they kind of touched on it a little bit. I thought they were going to go a little bit deeper into that episode actually, and like get into how droids were just like the clones, and they developed personalities, and they were different, and they were people, and blah blah blah. They had PTSD, but they didn't. I didn't understand that. That's a little bit too deep for Disney. It's difficult for them to even talk about clones in that respect, much less breathe life into droids like that. But they have been like leaning into that direction about the droids for a long time with the live action Star Wars, and I'll give them a lot of credit for that because that's just something that was never ever brought up.
Well, droids always seem to have a personality outside of the battle droids. If you look at C-3PO, he has high anxiety for a robot. Who decided to develop anxiety for this thing? Chopper seems like the worst choice imaginable.
Chopper's a psychotic serial killer. He's
Yeah.
crazy. He wanted them to shoot that ship down, and she's like, "No, it'll destroy the whole port." He's like, "And that's bad." He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
Chopper, that's bad. That's a bad situation. We have to
Yeah.
we can't just kill 5 million people for Like, really? Come on."
Which episode was that in?
In the end, he's right. They should have stopped that ship. But anyway.
Yeah. All right. Now, which episode was that in? Because it was
It was the end of the last episode when they were chasing the HK droid.
Yeah.
HK droid was leaving the shipyard and they were chasing it.
Wow.
Chopper tried to talk Hera into shooting it down, and she was like, "No, it's going to destroy the whole shipyard." And he's like, "So?"
Yeah. That's Chopper. He's a psycho.
Yes.
Don't let him fool. Don't let his cuteness fool you.
No.
Yes. Exactly. Hence what I said. Don't trust no one.
I don't know, but
Droid.
I am getting this growing concern from the show that we're not going to see Thrawn until like episode 5.
Yep.
I agree with you because even in 3, like I'm just in that direction it was going in. Yeah, I'm just thinking, is there any direction towards Thrawn? Maybe a bit, but it wasn't that strong in this episode of when he's coming around.
Well, they keep talking about him and talking about he's going to come back, and they're setting stuff up. They have the hyperspace ring there, so then he can send fleets of his own, which is something John mentioned last week. He can bring in fleets with those rings, and start galvanizing the Empire again. Hence, he'll probably be the creator of the First Order, a long way down the road. I think that's what they're going to do, but I get they're building him up, but it's so much build up. It's starting to get old and boring and tiring, and I don't.
That's coming from our perspective because we've seen 4 seasons of Rebels. We know this story already, and we're kind of guessing as to where. If you have no idea who Sabine is, you kind of need these episodes, and you kind of need this slow episode with a whole lot of action to bring you back into Star Wars and tell you who these people are. Nobody knows who Sabine is.
And I agree.
And she's like the heart of the show. It should be Sabine. It shouldn't be called Ahsoka.
And I agree with you. And I'm sorry, Mike, but going forward, it's what's important with this, even Ahsoka, and when it continues, it's foundations it's laying out, even though the foundations of it may not be there 100% or may not always have the answers we want. We know there's a foundation surrounding the nostalgia of Star Wars and the tone it's trying to take. However, and like you said with Rebels and whatnot kind of thing, it's you're right, John. It's kind of for those of us who were into those series, it's helping us have the refresher while getting into Ahsoka even more. Definitely, kind of thing.
Right. Well, this show, if you haven't seen Rebels, it's you won't know who these characters are, but at least this show gives them enough personality. But I have to say, Ahsoka herself is very stoic compared to Ashley Eckstein's performance, And at first, I kind of gave Rosario Dawson the benefit of the doubt. I'm thinking, well, this is an older Ahsoka who's been through a lot, so she wants to. So she's a little more held back and is more like a stoic Jedi, which I get that if that's the way she's going with that, but she's almost too stoic sometimes. It's in the first episode.
I told you in the first episode that she's a gray. She's a gray Jedi. How did she get the information from Morgan? She did that mind meld crazy shit on her. She's like, I didn't necessarily use Jedi techniques. She told us that in the very first episode. She's like, I'm not necessarily nice, but I dragged the information out of her.
Right.
She did the same thing that Maul used and Kylo kind of use. Just go into people's heads and get their information. So she's not a Jedi, man. We have to remember that she's not Snips.
Right.
We kind of miss. She's more full. She's past Fulcrum even. She's gray. She's just as dark as she is light.
Which I would like to see them explore that, because the thing about Ahsoka is she never goes that direction, and she could have gone that way, especially with what happened to Anakin. she could have gone that way, or she could have gone that way after Order 66 happened. But she still believed in the best of people and strives for them, and that's what separates her from someone like Anakin Skywalker.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and we're also waiting for that as well, kind of thing. And he is coming. The question is when. Definitely.
Yeah, we hear his voice in one of the trailers for
Yes.
the show, so we know that's coming. But I feel like it's going to be the same thing like it was with Obi-Wan, where you'll have like one scene with him and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's like I don't think they need to do that. I would love to see a full episode that's just like a flashback between like Anakin and Ahsoka, just like going on a mission or something like that.
I agree with you. I mean,
like just it could be that would be filler I love, because then it's like, who cares? You get to see how they got along with each other and swashbuckled with each other, and it kind of introduces it in a way to live action that you wouldn't that people who haven't seen the shows would get. They'd be like, oh, this is who this is, and this is why she's referring to Anakin Skywalker.
And something that we haven't seen in Ahsoka yet was in Mandalorian connected to Boba Fett. Boba Fett connected back to Mandalorian. Those two spun circles around each other. Like this is the same timeline. They have to rope in, at least mention Grogu. You know what I mean? or Luke or something. Like they have to mention the rest of the known existing Star Wars universe. It can't just be like Awesome Hera's there, but that everybody else is there too, and it can't just be. You know what I mean? I obviously don't want them to go back to Tatooine, Mike. Don't get mad at me.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of I think we're all tired of Tatooine.
I'm tired of Tatooine. I am. But even then with this show though, even like Star Wars and whatnot kind of thing, I do feel like even with like thinking back when I'm watching this episode kind of thing, it's almost like, to me it's almost like it's like even in the role where it's like training a Jedi is almost like training someone who is Anakin at one point, but at the same time you wonder, does this individual have is she true to wanting to be a Jedi? Is she a traitor? Will her mind be convinced to join a darker force? What comes to my mind of that is just the personality, the frustration, along with how she keeps being told how she's not ready to be a Jedi, and the fact that she struggles to even understand, even when she is told the Force resides in all living things. It's like she struggles to really understand. It's like it happens when it happens.
She doesn't seem to have any kind of connection to the Force at all.
Mm-hmm.
She never did. She could use a lightsaber because she's Mandalorian and she can fight, but she's never been able to connect. The only time that she did was when she was taken over by the witches of Dathomir. Which, come on, Filoni, let's get there.
Well, he has hinted at it. Morgan said she is a witch.
Yes, she was overtaken. So if they do that and wrap that storyline into this series, holy cow!
Oh yeah.
Well, there's a lot of places they can go, because he can just kind of piggyback off of Rebels with this. I just again, one thing I hope to see, because this was like a fun action-packed episode, I'd like to see some character development with Ahsoka. Because if you just walk into this show and you don't know anything about Ahsoka, you don't know anything about Anakin. Well, you'd know something about Anakin at least, from the prequels, but not the cartoon shows. But you walk into this thing not knowing anything about Ahsoka, you'd say, yes, just some show about this really stoic lady who has like a group of friends who helps her out on missions to stop this one looming threat. So there's not much characterization of her, and I hope we can get a little more something, with her past that they can go over to a live action that the cartoon series viewers know, but the audience who've only seen the movies and show haven't.
A flashback sequence would do that, like you were saying.
Yeah,
flashbacks for sure.
Well, it needs it, because this whole Ahsoka's character arc has really been already done. They did it in the Clone Wars, and they did it with Rebels. So here, this show is more like a continuation of Rebels. If anything, I actually think Sabine Wren is my favorite character in this show so far. She's very she has a great personality. She does whatever the hell she wants to do, just like Anakin, but she gets results. And she's also unlike and she also, like Anakin, is arrogance. And because of her arrogance, it caused the map to get stolen from her. And it'll probably cause some more problems.
Yes. I mean, I definitely agree with that personality and such like that kind of thing. And you're right, you know, between both, like even between it with the girls like Sabina and Hera kind of thing, I really do have something for the confidence in the character Hera, because Hera is one that's like, she's by the book, she's by like where she stands, and with like and what her skill set is and whatnot, and she's the one who relays like the accurate messages. Like she's not the one sending mixed signals, whereas so many others in this I feel can send a mixed signal. Like of course, you know, like even with like Sabine is sending many mixed signals through the series right now. But I'm starting like where I kind of feel with the show where my frustration is kind of coming in, not like personally, but frustration where it's like thinking, oh, I know this characters kind of have some red flags. It's with mostly it's with Morgan kind of thing. I'm sensing the very, very darkness of Morgan going forward kind of thing.
You mean in terms of how she has a connection with the witches of Dathomir?
Yes,
like she is a witch,
yes,
I mean?
yes. As in, it's only gonna get more treacherous.
Well, I think, you know, with her, with the Night Sister, and with Thrawn, it's going to be we're going to have a very clear threat. If there is one thing that is going in the show's favor, is that we have a clear antagonist, although we haven't seen him yet, but we are going to see him because everyone keeps talking about Thrawn, Thrawn, Thrawn. Who the hell is Thrawn? If you're watching this, you know, I haven't read the Thrawn books and I know who he is, but that's because I kind of like somehow within my internet research of Star Wars found out everything about that. But we have a clear antagonist, which is good. But our protagonist, it's kind of confusing to see, like, okay, it's called Ahsoka, and Ahsoka gets the most amount of screen time. But so far, Sabine has gotten the most character development, you know, because she is just like Anakin. I mean, Ahsoka already said that in the show. So we're seeing most of that with Sabine, but not so much with Ahsoka. If anything, I'd like to see more character development with her. And I don't mean just flashbacks. You know, a flashback can be one episode, could be enough. But what more can we know about this character now? Why is she so darn stoic on screen? I'm sorry. I know I keep going back to that.
Whole show. I mean, the series isn't over. You're asking right now. What you're asking is going to be answered by the end of the first series.
I hope so. I think with Dave Filoni,
or I can't be the first 3 episodes because you don't know the whole story yet.
I feel at the end of each episode, like you said, Mike, there is going to be a cliffhanger, and sometimes that cliffhanger can kind of give us a sense of who's probably coming up in the next, or what's the next threat, what's the next resolution, what's the next mission, kind of thing. Like,
well, the next episode is just going to be another action scene where Ahsoka battles through the woods of the planet they're on now, and then it's going to end with her fighting Ray Stevenson, and then we're going to get to episode 5 where we get to Thrawn. You know, I think that's kind of going to be it, because like I know it's like I know I sound kind of arrogant going, oh well, why aren't they establishing her character? They'll do that later. It's like, but will they? Like, I feel like we could get an Obi-Wan situation where you've only have like a couple episodes that's really worth remembering, and the rest of it's just kind of forgettable. And this show is
it's Disney Star Wars right there, in a nutshell. Yeah. That's every series so far has been exactly what you just said.
Yeah, and like and Disney, even knowing that, and even them as a whole, like even in what they do with Disney Plus, or even programming what they have in the movie theaters or on TV, they only want what's present. They want their Disney fans to gear on what's present. And I realize that, like, that's why so many times, like even like with like revisiting the stuff of Disney, even outside of Star Wars, it's rare for Disney to do repeats of stuff unless it really has the following to do so, because they're always want what's like in their present so much for attention, so much, and that they're not going to stop that with Ahsoka.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even Andor, it felt like there were episodes where we needed, like, how many episodes was it until they did the big space heist? Like, there's like one episode where they're going, "I don't trust you. Well, I don't trust you," and then there's another episode where they're going, "I don't trust you. Well, I don't trust you." I'm going, "What? We already established this. Why are we doing this again?" You know, and there's a lot of moments in Andor that were like that. The whole side plot with the guy who's trying to hunt him, who was like this, you know, ex-imperial sort of, or not imperial. He was with a corporation. He was like an ex-imperial guy, we'll just say for right now, who was supposed to hunt him down. We didn't need like a whole plot where he's like has problems with his mother at home. You know, it felt a little bit a little redundant in that half. But yeah, it does feel like that is going to be Disney Star Wars. I don't think we're going to get a lot of character development with Ahsoka. I think the most we're going to get is a flashback between her and Anakin. It's going to be like maybe 3-5 minutes, and then that's going to be it.
And it's ultimately like, I feel like the biggest seller of this is, of course, bringing back the alumni like Hayden Christensen as Anakin and people like that kind of thing, especially how they repeat that in the trailers so often and how they did before we even got into doing these segments kind of thing.
And I have to say, I had this weird theory that maybe Hayden Christensen had more screen time in the flashbacks with Obi-Wan, but his acting was still so wooden. They're like, "Oh, we can only use a little bit of this," you know.
And you could look at a timeline of. And sorry, I'll let you go. But actually, no, you finish. I'm sorry, it'll come back to me.
No, that's all right. I was pretty much done. What were you gonna
say?
I
mean, like on what you just said about Hayden Christensen, like when you look at his timeline, even outside of Star Wars, like some of his roles are memorable, but then many of them are kind of forgettable. So when you think about it, kind of Anakin is the main thing that many will remember him from.
Shattered Glass is actually
I love Shattered Glass. Yeah, and that movie deserves more appreciation than it truly.
Yeah, there's a future episode right there. But yeah, Shattered Glass is probably Hayden Christensen's best performance. You know, he plays the role of this guy who ends up making up a bunch of stories when he's writing for the New Republic. And he gets caught doing that. But
speaking of that, I love how we said the word Republic a lot, and even that movie has the word like Republic, like New Republic, this.
So it's all connected, just like the Force.
And they even said in the plot of Shattered Glass that Hayden Christensen lowers his lightsaber.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just thinking Hayden Christensen, maybe his acting wasn't like as good as they would hope it would, because everyone thought, well, George Lucas couldn't direct his actors, and that's why they were bad. I'm like, that's true.
Couldn't pick his actors correctly. Couldn't cast them correctly.
Yeah, well, he did cast Ewan McGregor, who made a great Obi-Wan, you know. But
it's a home run once in a while, but for the most part, it's like whoever's available. Get the Carpenter. Get the Carpenter. He'll be great.
And even in this day and age,
put an alien mask on him. Yeah.
Even in this day and age nowadays, it's like when there's an actor they really want, a lot of times, sometimes they'll even have the production halted till that actor is available. Or if they're that desperate to be like, okay, let's find someone just as brilliant, you know?
Right. Disappointing that I mean, I don't know why they would put Hayden Christensen in one of the trailers if he's not going to be prominent in the show. You know, it seems a little weird. But, huh? Well, they got to market it.
One thing we haven't mentioned, like not even once, I don't think, is the stellar music and sound development on the show.
Yes.
The accompaniment, whatever that word is that I can't currently pronounce right now.
That's okay.
Amazing from the first note, seriously.
The music's okay. It sounds, you know what it sounds like? It sounds a lot like the Clone Wars compositions from the television show.
I'll tell you where the best sound experiences here's where the best sound experiences in any Star Wars film or series. You'll have the best sound experience if you do a Star Wars orchestrated experience. And I did that at Chicago Symphony Orchestra with The Force Awakens. So if you want like the sound you love times 10 or 20, it's there at like at a Star Wars film orchestrated.
I
Truly.
will say something controversial. I don't think the soundtrack from John Williams to the sequel trilogy was that good. I feel like he
Oh.
kind of, because if you go back to the original three films, each film had a memorable composition. The first film, well, I mean, you had two. You had the Twin Sons composition, and then you had the main theme. In the second film, you had the Imperial March. In the third film, there's the song that's playing when Luke's like going nuts and swinging after his father, and you hear those monks going, oh, like you get kind of that church music that's real memorable with it. In the Phantom Menace, you get Duel of the Fates. In Attack of the Clones, you get the love story song, and in Revenge of the Sith, you get the Battle of the Heroes. We don't get anything that's nearly as memorable as that. The closest thing we get to something that's memorable is Rey's theme. The rest of it, like you kind of remember Kylo Ren's theme is very generic, just bomb, 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 bomb. It's not really there. And that's real sad to see. But like John was saying, this is live action animation. This is pretty much you're hearing the music done by the same. I think the music is done, and I could be wrong. If someone knows, please correct me. I think it's done by the same guy who did the music for the Clone Wars, and they gave him more of an orchestra. Although there's still a lot of symphonic stuff to it, or not. I don't mean symphonic, like electronic. No orchestra is there, so that's one thing that kind of throws me off. But overall, it is nice to have some music that I would say is a little better than some of Obi-Wan's soundtracks. I listened to Obi-Wan's score. Oof, not that good. It sounds like an average TV score.
The Vader fight is pretty banging, but other than that,
yeah, the Vader fight, that one's good. And I mean, that was a great. Apparently, Darth Vader always gets his helmet cut in half, whether it's Ahsoka or Obi-Wan. But that's because he's not as badass as people think he is.
Obviously not Beskar.
Yeah. Why didn't they make his armor out of that?
He's just a glorified stormtrooper.
Yeah. oh. Now there's a controversy.
Palpatine had him weak for reasons of Palpatine's own.
I remember
electronic shit in him, and Palpatine had the lightning. Everything was designed so Palpatine could control his ass. So,
you know what? I was just thinking that as you were saying that. It's like, remember when he picks him up and he tosses him in to kill him? Well, now that he has that clone, I'm gonna guess he probably saw it in the Force that his son was going to turn him back. So he was ready for the event of his death to have his soul, or whatever you have his energy transitioned into a clone of him. So there's my crazy wild theory on that.
So what are your predictions for the next episode overall for the show? What are you thinking?
We're going to have Ahsoka being hunted by a bunch of the Inquisitors and their people. That's going to be the full episode next week. The week after that, finally, we'll get Thrawn, probably within halfway to the end of the episode. And then we're going to get a rescue mission where everyone has to, or no, we're going to get Thrawn episode 5, and then we're going to set up the rescue mission, and then we're going to have the rescue mission, and then it's going to end on a cliffhanger for season 2.
Derek?
I believe I'm trying to remain optimistic, but I just believe we're going to see a new revelation, whether it's very big or very small, and if it is going to remain how it has been, like if it's even kind of like the second episode, that's kind of the pattern we're going to have to get used to. But despite how the writing or presentations may be, there's always going to be something invigorating within the Force and within the characterizations throughout Ahsoka.
Yeah. I don't know. At least we're getting characters that we like here who do have a lot of personality. Sabine Wren has a personality. She's real bright and colorful. Like, when she's trying to, like, there's that little scene in this episode where she's trying to use the Force to pull the little cup towards her, but it's not moving. And she's called to the cockpit and she goes, well, you win this round, and then takes her little cup down.
Very
You know,
cartoony. Very cartoony.
yeah, very cartoony. It's same thing with Hera Syndulla. Like there was that whole fight that was going on with Ahsoka on the ground in episode 2 while Hera's in the ship and she's having her little banter with Chopper, where Chopper's like, "Let's just blow up the bridge," and she's like, "We can't do that, or else you'll kill everyone."
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh damn, he is a serial killer.
He is. Yeah, one thing that I think, especially after episode 3 here, I'm starting to think that, yes, I think that the Knights of Ren are the last of the Inquisitors. I've been saying that for years already. Sabine Wren may or may not have something to do with the First Order. Knights of Ren, Sabine Wren. There's no way that's a coincidence. But this happened to a character in Rebels, and it was pretty huge. But I'm thinking she loses her sight altogether.
Just like Caleb.
Absolutely forced to use the Force, and is literally no longer a Mandalorian because she can't see anymore. So she has to become the Force user. Hence, blah blah blah. Bad stuff happens, and a wedge between her. Like if she loses her sight, that could push her towards the Force and away from Ahsoka at the exact same time.
Yeah, and I'm wondering. I've seen some stuff on the internet saying that they retconned her character because they said, "Oh, she's never been Force sensitive. Why are you making her Force sensitive?" I like to say
until she got possessed or whatever, she wasn't.
Yeah,
she got possessed, so we don't know what's going on now.
Who possessed? When did she get possessed?
In the show, when there's an episode she gets possessed by the witches of Dathomir.
Oh, geez. You see, it's been so long since I've seen Rebels. I hardly remember any of it other than I really enjoyed the hell out of it.
Remember bits and pieces. I've seen the entire series twice. But there's some stuff there. She's connected, but not in like any kind of good way at all.
Yeah. Well, if she's still possessed, that's going to be something. They'll connect that to Morgan then.
She can't use the Force. She has been used by it. So that could be a problem going down the road.
She does, and you're right. She does not have the Force. That's because the Force has had control over her. She doesn't have control of the Force. The Force has control over her.
Anyone in Star Wars though can be Force sensitive. I mean if properly trained, even maybe Han Solo could lift an object with his brain.
Yeah, that's exactly what Ahsoka said. Everybody, it just takes patience and training and the will.
Yeah. And midichlorian count.
Yeah, that helps. That definitely helps. But everybody has a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Broom Boy.
Oh, I feel we even
do that. Oh God, what happened to Broom Boy? Is that who the sequels are going to be based on? Is fucking Broom Boy, and Ahsoka's going to be the one who trains him?
Oh, wait a minute.
Or Ray's going to. I'm sorry, Ray will train Broom Boy. Ray's going to train Broom Boy in the sequels. That's what it's going to be.
She has 2 Padawans. We'll see what happens. 2.
Yeah. And at least those sequels, I'm optimistic about them because this time they're going to take their time with it and not just shove it out the door.
No, they're not. It's going to be garbage. But I'm always 100% excited about new Star Wars. I don't even care if it sucks.
I am too.
We're it's a drug and we're hooked on it.
Post Boba Fett, I don't care if it sucks. I just want new Star Wars.
I think they can fix Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. That shit ruined my hopes, and we're not going to get the Star Wars that we think we're going to get ever. This show, Ahsoka, is probably the closest to it. If you've watched the cartoons and the movies, and maybe did a little bit of reading, and kind of who Thrawn is, if you've done a whole lot of fucking research, yeah, maybe. But this is like the best Star Wars has been probably since 1977 or 1980. Honestly.
Yeah, I would say that's true. I think
the most fun, the Empire is definitely the most, like the biggest threat that they've been since Vader landed on Hoth. I haven't been scared of the Empire since Vader landed on Hoth.
Yeah,
not once.
Now I kind of wish we could relive our Star Wars nostalgia. Let's go back to the VHS era of it when they had those remastered VHS tapes. Let's go back to the era of when some of them came to Laserdisc. Literally.
I actually have. I should do a TikTok video on my Laserdisc Star Wars collection. Which, by the way, if anyone listening knows where I can get a Laserdisc player, that'd be great. Because I got one, but it was broken when they shipped it.
I'm the only
money
place
down the drain.
And I even will go to like those used or retro stores, and then they'll be like, "We have
brand new," hence why they went away.
And the thing is, people never. It's hard to find like stores that have it because many people want that nostalgia still kind of thing. Whereas you can find the movies a lot of times in these used stores, no problem. But the player, completely different story. That's why gotta usually do it online, but then they overcharge for it. And it may not. You may get ripped off then.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what happened with me. I got the player, but then the disc, like it ejected, but it wouldn't play the disc when I started it up. And the thing weighs a ton. It is fucking heavy.
I haven't. The last time I bought it,
spin that giant disc. Think about it for 2 seconds. They're not that long or well. They're just. I mean, no.
The last time
meant to last. No.
The last time I bought a laser disc it was pretty much a lucky purchase. It was from Half Price Books. It was The Right Stuff.
Wow.
And Mike, that was right when we were done with the Chicago Critics Fest with Screen there. And after that, I'm like, oh, I gotta have this.
I think you told me about that, but
Right.
Going back to the show, one thing that we haven't mentioned about episode 3 yet, though, was Jason. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Jason?
See Hera's kid.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I thought for a second you were making a Jason Voorhees reference. I'm like, wait, Jason Voorhees showed up and killed everyone?
He's mentioned for 2 seconds at the end of the series. When they do like what happens at the end of Rebels, like at the end of the fourth series finale, 4th season finale.
How did that kid not wind up a Twi'lek or part Twi'lek? That kid was just like a total humanoid.
That I think they're trying to like maybe hint at the genetics of, because there are no cross species or there are no like half and half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was just like a human white kid.
He's not like, like how does it work in Star Wars? Obviously there's you got your Captain Kirks out there that are out there, banging everybody. Han Solo for one, of course.
Yes.
But
Captain
like,
Kirk.
how does the genetics of Star Wars work? Like, obviously, there's interspecies breeding. Jason exists. He's fully human.
That's what threw me off. That's
just like a weird little. They never really explained it. Type situation. It's just weird that they like him, but it's just awesome to see Jason in live action. He exists. He's real. He wants to be just like his dad.
Now, I want to see how he was born. And apparently Anakin was born from a virgin birth, which I don't know, the way I always interpreted that scene, and I'm probably wrong, is just that he had a father, but the guy was a deadbeat and he didn't want to support his son, so he left. So Shmi considered him not his father. Not that he was space Jesus.
Another escaped Palpatine clone or something. Like Palpatine himself was just like a drunken rampage and fell through on Tatooine, something like that. He just went around to multiple planets and was just like kind of like Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It's like planted seeds everywhere that he went, and eventually he got an Anakin.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh boy. Now that's I don't think that's a theory I can guarantee you is never gonna come to fruition.
No, absolutely not.
Now that you mentioned Guardians and it's off topic, now I want a Walkman that plays cassettes now. So thank you for bringing that up. Just like I would talk about laser discs.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially like you ever play Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain? They have like the little Sony cassette player that you listen to in the game. Which is a great kind of throwback, which is funny. They have walking, talking machines. They have the iDroid, but they still need to use cassette tapes to hear music. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But then again, that's just Hideo Kojima for you. He's just totally weird.
What the hell are you saving with typewriter tape on Resident Evil? That makes no sense.
I want to see that sketch. Just someone putting in the...
What?
I just wonder that. Is there just paper on this?
Come on. That game is so hard.
Did you play the? I know the Resident Evil 4 remake, though. By the way, highly recommended. But like, yeah, I mean, what do they do? Does like Leon physically load the paper in there and then turn it and then type game one? I want to see that
Well,
scene.
now that you're on now that we're jumping topics, now that we brought up gaming, think about it. Now, what comes to my mind in episode 3? If any of you played any of the Star Wars video games, does any of these episodes you feel remind you if you played the StarArs video games? Can be as way back as like the 90s or
the space battle in episode 3, absolutely. They did a really good job, especially like zooming in, really close focus on the pilots, and they're like, that's what you're doing when you're playing a game. That's exactly what you look like when you're playing a video.
I always loved the Rogue Squadron games when I was younger. Oh my god, they could still be fun.
And they still look great. I can't emulate Rogue Squadron for shit on my computer. It just like kills it every time.
But Star Wars pod racing, that was the frickin' best on N64.
Oh, I had that game on my Switch. Yeah,
that's a fun one.
Oh man, yeah. The Phantom Menace, the video game. Okay, if anyone knows where I can download the Phantom Menace, the video game, the PC version, I want to see if I can emulate that. I'll tell you what my graphics card is. It's what is it? It's an AMD RTX 5500. So if anyone knows how to get that to emulate on there, I'll pay you so I can emulate that game. Because in that game, you could just play as Qui-Gon and just murder everyone in Tatooine, just for the hell of it. You could kill Anakin as a kid. You could kill his mom. You can wipe out the whole town. Which I don't know how they put that in a teen-rated game or how that was even an option in the game. But it was, and it exists, and it's hilarious for that. But I want to see it with superior PC graphics compared to the PS1 graphics. That's how much of a nerd I am with these games.
I love your nerd style with your video games, dude. Because you're making me realize how games back then were just so fun when you didn't need all that freaking storage space like you need now.
Oh, you just pop in the game and it plays.
Yes, I miss those days so much.
Yeah.
But I guess graphics got too big. That's why it requires tons of storage space,
Yeah, but that scene with Ahsoka and the ship, it did feel like a video game, but I didn't mind it because it was freaking sweet. I mean, she cuts that damn wing in half. And how did she get the other guy down? How did she take the first guy down? Does anyone remember?
I think she only took one down, and then the two of them got away. It was just the...
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was thinking, I didn't remember her taking two down.
She did cut one of those ships in half, but that was it. The other two got away.
Yeah.
It was the Inquisitor one, and then was the the goth girl, whatever her name is.
Shadows of the Empire. Another great memory of a Star Wars video game.
I read the book, and I actually quite enjoyed it.
That was on N64 and Microsoft Windows back then, so you could probably find that online.
Yeah, you can get it on GOG.com if you have PC.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I have it on there, and the controls are absolute crap. Like, don't try to use the keyboard and mouse. It doesn't control.
Oh, that's the biggest complaint I hear about people who download everything on their computer games. People hate playing with the keyboard for certain games.
Yeah, the games are not designed to be played on a keyboard.
Unless it's like Guild Wars or Warcraft or Age of Empire or something.
I don't know.
Like that.
Somehow we've gone into a whole loop about video games now.
Well, but yeah, we're nerds technically. We're movie nerds, Star Wars nerds. They all correlate in a way.
Yeah, well, so Ahsoka really did feel like a video game in some moments, but I don't mind that. Like in the first episode when she does that little thing where she goes with the lightsabers and she goes down the ground, and then she jumps up and she goes and the other guys fall down. That's fucking sweet. And that's the thing. This shows how a strong Force user actually looks like. Although I will say the sword battles look a little weird, or I should say lightsaber battles. I'm not going to call them laser swords, but the lightsaber battles, like they cut the camera a little too close where you can't really see the moves everyone's doing. But the combat is kind of like a mixture between the way it was in the prequels and the way it was in the originals, where they're swinging, but they're not doing like this whole huge dance, which I miss because
you gotta cut corners and save money somewhere, and they just don't have the money for choreography for that. I bet that's a lot of work to do fight sequences, especially like hand-to-hand combat or swords. Like that's Like, this isn't John Wick and the Continental. You know, they're not focused on, like, that's not their focus.
Mhm.
You know what I
Which
mean?
which is funny because this show is about
We're gonna give you a good like the first sequence where she's chopping those robots in half, and like you said, she goes through concrete, and you know that's the Ahsoka that we all knew and loved from the TV series, both the Clone Wars and Rebels. You know, she's running, she's jumping, she's telling Wang not to land the ship, that she's just gonna run and jump on it, and he's gonna go. You know, she's fighting people outside of her ship on the wing in a spacesuit. Like, it's like that's the Ahsoka that we all knew and loved, and we all never saw any like Force user or anybody do anything. Every other Force user is so reserved. Like Kenobi doesn't, like, he hides for 20 years, doesn't use his Force. Like, you know, like everybody's so reserved. Even Luke, like that willingness to not use your powers is passed down to Luke, and it's so frustrating to watch from the outside. That's what was so fun about the Anakin character, was just like, no, you know what? He's right. He should be lifting pairs up and chopping them up into little pieces with the Force, even though you're really not supposed to be doing that shit, guys. You were having fun with the Force, like Ahsoka has fun with the Force.
You were the chosen one.
Yeah, I mean,
she's one of them.
I have a newfound respect for the way those lightsaber battles were choreographed in the prequels, because they kept the camera wide, just like the Matrix did, where you saw all the action, where they were really swinging at each other.
Yep.
Here, they're not really swinging at each other, and I think that's the thing that's going to be disappointing in the series, is that you're just going to have more of these bland lightsaber battles, so the camera cuts close, so it tricks you into thinking they're going like this.
We're probably not going to see jumping around back and forth going for long durations. I wish we would a little bit, but we'll see.
We're going to see Ahsoka be Ahsoka against Ray Stevenson and his Padawan or whatever.
Now you guys are tempted.
We're gonna see some stuff like they're Filoni messing around. Like, he's gonna give us these episodes that are fun little fillers, but
imagine if all of a sudden, just now that we're on this subject of lightsabers, all of a sudden towards the end of these series, all of a sudden we each have a lightsaber. Then, you know.
Well, I mean, how much would it cost?
That depends. You could find, but if you want like the real legit one, it's not even worth it. But replicas could always be fun.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
I was trying to look up what the name of that character is. Who is the? I gotta say the what did you guys think of the female Inquisitor in this show? Is she intimidating? Like, she doesn't intimidate me that much. She kind of looks like she's gonna cry all the time. But
question mark.
Yeah. Yeah, but she's interesting in a way. But I guess all of these Inquisitors are. I just like it when they're straight evil and they don't have to go good. I hope they don't do something with their character where she's like, "Oh no, what I'm doing is bad. I'm going to stop being a Sith now." Or I'm sorry, are they a Sith or are they Sith-like Inquisitors?
We don't know. They're Force users for hire. We don't know what. They haven't been called anything.
I don't know. I think they're Inquisitors because they have the helicopter lightsabers. So they could be that, but they are making it a secret. And boy, next week the show does have me hooked. I really want to see what happens next week, but I also don't want to get myself disappointed and upset because they still don't have Thrawn. I know I'm being selfish, but they literally had Thrawn show up to. They had who plays Thrawn in the show? Does anyone know his name? It's Miles Mickelson or something like that. But anyways, they had the guy who plays Thrawn show up to the Star Wars convention. So we know that he's going to be there and that he's going to be in the show. They even showed his image. It's in my thumbnail. But what are we going to get that? It seems a little kind of like too much build up with what I'm afraid is going to be very little payoff. But then again, I've been wrong before. And it's Lars Mikkelsen.
Yep, Lars Mikkelsen. Thrawn. That's what I found. Yeah, Lars Mikkelsen.
I could be wrong this time. I think we have probably some of the best Star Wars, at least since, I don't know. Remember how good we thought Force Awakens kind of was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hold
I
on.
went.
You can go
Oh,
back to my review and see it. You
Will
can.
we still have hope for Star Wars? Like after like the like after the Force Awakens like kind of fizzled, like Star Wars just went back to being kind of whatever again.
Yeah.
This
Well.
this series is not okay whatever again.
Well, I
This
think.
I want more. I want so much more. We got a little bit of that with the Mandalorian because it was a new character. It was like we didn't really know about the Mandalorians at all, even if you watched the cartoons and whatever. Like it was like they talked about them, but you didn't really know what these people were about. They were like just like this side group of people, warriors for hire, whatever.
oh yeah, I agree.
Well, I mean, there is the whole J.J. Abrams mystery box, and you don't want to review everything that's in that box, but I think they are going to with the show, and it'll be we'll find out who these guys are. We'll find out who they are in the second by this upcoming episode, and we'll find out where Ezra's going because we know there is Ezra in the show. We saw the hologram of him. That took me by surprise. I didn't expect Ezra to just show up like that, but he did. But until then, we just gotta wait a while to get to that rescue mission. If it doesn't turn out to be a rescue mission, and they manage to get Ezra back on their side, and we get Thrawn, I'll be thrilled with the series. But I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic. I don't want to have too high of hopes just to be let down because I've been there before, and it's not a fun place to be as a Star Wars fan. But I don't know. Having said that, Tarek, you have any closing thoughts on the show?
My closing thoughts on this show is that honestly, I am kind of just like I said, trying to remain optimistic, keep not get my hopes up way too much because I want to have like some like surprises that are unexpected or hope for those. But other than that, though, I do feel that this series is very solid in its direction, and even though the last episode was just over 30 minutes, I do feel like the Force is finding its strong suit in this one as it continues.
Okay. John, satisfied with the show so far?
Yeah, I am. And one of the bigger things, we mentioned it a little bit last week, but we haven't really this week. Like this series really is focusing on, like Tarek said, the Force, like the magic of it, the witches of Dathomir, the magic of the Force. It's not just like a question mark, like what are the midichlorians? But they're telling you it's magic. It's
It
this
is.
all of these, and they're going to explain it through the show, and I'm really excited about that because they did a little bit of that with Rebels. Like we did see Dathomir, we did like the whole Maul story. We know a little bit, but if he answers some of those questions that honestly I don't even know what the questions are right now about the witches of Dathomir and the magic behind the Force, I don't know. It's just going to take Star Wars in a direction that I never would have thought possible and never would have thought would happen in live action, even though it's live action animation or the new series, the new generation of Disney Star Wars. Like I'm just happy that they're going in that direction. It's not just space samurai. Like it's space samurais with magic.
Well, and the thing is, I really thought they wouldn't address the space whales or the world. Well, the space whales, yes, but the world between worlds, which is what it's going to lead up to, probably. And that means, there's time travel involved in Star Wars now. It's a little bit like the ending of Interstellar, where Matthew McConaughey's seeing every point in time all at once, and he taps on the bookcase to use Morse code to reach to his daughter. It's a little bit like that. It's like being in the fifth dimension, as the scientific community calls it, or I could be wrong. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. It is like the Mandalorian, where there's a lot of kind of like what's going to happen, and wait till next week to find out. Although it might just be filler. Like a Jedi, we have to exercise patience, or at least I do. But hopefully, the story starts going in somewhere soon. They are starting to do a little bit of that with the New Republic not taking Thrawn seriously, hence leading to probably the creation of the First Order. Let's get to the juice already. All right, we're 3 episodes in. This is what is this? How many episode series is this? 8 or 6? Ahsoka
8
episode. It's 8 episodes.
from what it looked like. Yes,
So
last I checked.
yeah. Here we go. Yeah, you see. Oh shit. Well, I don't know, but if this is an 8 episode series, I can excuse it if he doesn't come in right now. But this is probably a 6 episode series, and if that is, then we got to get there fast.
Yes, and
Anyway,
that
go
means
ahead.
then technically
Yes.
so that means we got 5 more episodes left if it's a total of 8 then.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Then there's plenty of room to develop and grow, and
Yeah, exactly.
hopefully it's that. But does anyone in the comments know how many there are? No one's watching this, so who gives a shit?
I wonder. I wish maybe next time for our segment we could put in we could say please comment, do stuff like that, kind of thing. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe we could talk about that off the air.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, no, we're fine. I'm just saying if anyone's watching right now, throw out your comments. We're happy to expand our talks and our love for Star Wars and Ahsoka on this. From
anyways,
comments
I'm gonna wrap up. Tarek, where can we find you?
You can find me at moviesoftarek.com. Also, I write periodically for Positively Naperville. Sometimes I put my stuff on Medium, but I'm very also active on Letterboxd, also very active on Twitter. I always post consistently on Facebook anything movie related that grabs my attention. Honestly, I just surround my life with movies, and Mike, I'm sure you see that.
Oh, by the way, it's 8 episodes.
Oh yeah, 8 episodes.
So we probably won't see Thrawn until episode 5. Like I said, there's even a greater possibility of that. That's what Star Wars does. They spread their story real thin.
Mm-hmm.
There's just chunks of filler with just a little bit of story.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
And John, where can we find you?
Oh, Cinema Obscura. We're on Can TV here, 11 p.m. Monday nights. Chicago, cable channel 19. What else do I got going on? Oh, yeah. Every 4th Wednesday over there at the Logan Theater. Live action animation from us. It's stand-up comedy, live music, and film all in one space. The Lounge, Logan Theater. Check it out every 4th Wednesday.
I'll make it over there one of those days now because the Logan's awesome.
Yeah, and then the archives over on Vimeo. Spelled just like you see under my name right there.
Mm-hmm.
Under my face, next to my name.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And guys, you want to find me? I'm at You'll Probably Agree or YPA Reviews. And the YPA stands for, as I just said, You'll Probably Agree. Go to ypareviews.com, or you can find us on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok at YPA Reviews. Having said that, we'll see you later. And hopefully we get Thrawn soon.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.
I'm impatient.
Goodbye. The Force is with you.
I can never be a Jedi. I'm too impatient.